Welcome. So last but certainly not least, to talk about Detroit condo market, we have Donna O'Keefe from our Johnstone & Johnstone office, and Chris DeRozier, our loan officer in the Grosse Pointe and Detroit market, and West Bloomfield too. So I wanted to...
Dearborn.
And Dearborn, yes. So I wanted to bring them along and discuss the Detroit condo market, because any condo market is unique for sure, can be unique, but with all the building going on in the city of Detroit, there's some definite uniqueness about it. So Donna, can you talk a little bit about the Detroit market and what you're seeing with condos?
Okay, the condo market in Detroit right now is unlike what most of us are experiencing in the suburbs, with houses and condos, even in the suburbs, where you're dealing with multiple offer situations. There is actually an excess inventory in the city right now. Broad price ranges, you have from 40,000 up to 2 million. So you have a wide range of prices, but and the area I'm talking about is like downtown, Midtown, New Center, and the stretch of condos heading east out of the city on Jefferson. And right now, there's about a year's supply. There's over 200 houses or condos and co-ops. I want to clarify, some of these are co-ops. And last year, about a little over 200 sold. So you're at about a year's inventory on it. And if you break it into the higher ends that were selling really well, everybody moving downtown and the prices were actually getting out of hand. There's been a change right now. If you look at, there's 9 of them pending that are over 350. That's it. But what those are the ones that are pending are ones that have outdoor space. In Corktown or Harbor Place, where you have boating amenities on the river, and even Lafayette Park, where you actually have a lot of green space. And I truly think this is due to COVID. I've had clients who have decided not to look for condos, and ones that have wanted to sell, because now they're looking at, shared elevators, nowhere to go, outside, and the restaurants, theaters, sporting events aren't open. And that's the reason a lot of them moved in. I think it'll perk up again once everything gets back going. There may be, because that appeal is gone right now, but it will, come back. But the good thing is, you're not competing. So if you have people wanting to buy, they can negotiate. There's room to do that, especially if a house, condo's been on the market for 6, 8, 10 months.
That's great information, because prior to the pandemic, it wasn't necessarily like that. It was pretty hot market. Yeah, it'll come back. I have no doubt about that. So Chris, yeah, it'll definitely come back. Chris, looks like you're on mute. There you go.
We were having an echo issue earlier, so I just got myself on mute.
So purchasing a condo typically is pretty cut and dry, just like any sort of other mortgage. However, there are plenty of condos out there that don't fit Fannie and Freddie guidelines, and those are called non-warrantable condos. So Chris, can you touch on some things to look out for and how to prepare to purchase a non-warrantable condo, and what exactly that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So non-warrantable does not mean that there's anything wrong with the condo or that it's even less desirable. Some of them are more desirable than warrantable condos. All it means is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will not buy that or invest in that mortgage. So it shrinks the pool of potential lenders, because with that added layer of risk and pulling Fannie and Freddie, who are roughly 60% of the conventional mortgage market, it lowers the number of lenders that will be willing to do those products. Typically, if a condo complex is non-warrantable, the homeowners association will know, because incoming owners have had difficulty getting financed. Some of the most common reasons are that it's a new development and it hasn't been finished. The builder hasn't released the homeowners association back to the homeowners yet. More than 15% of the units are delinquent on their dues by 2 months or more, or you have a mixed use greater than 35%. So especially downtown where you're seeing condos go on top of commercial spaces, that's going to be something that we're going to see throughout the next decade or so. That's going to run into a lot of non-warrantable. So what you can do up front is just make sure that the lender that you're working with knows their market and that they can work with non-warrantable condos if that's something that you could potentially run into.
Yeah, it definitely similar to what I mentioned about the RD loans. Doing your homework up front, working closely with your realtor to ask them some questions, and if they're unsure, they can work with the lender. There's sometimes we can get our what's called a condo questionnaire done up front to see where we're at, look at the bylaws, and Donna, a realtor would be able to retrieve those bylaws early in the process, or even maybe prior to an offer to make sure they know what they're getting into.
Yes, and a lot of them now a lot of the agents are posting their bylaws online on the MLS right along with your seller's disclosure and lead paint disclosures. So you can review them before right away. Not all of them, but generally you should just then request. I request them prior to making an offer, instead of, in the old days, it used to be that that would be part of your offer, but I think it's better to look at them up front.
Yeah, no doubt, because knowing that up front will help with the pre-approval process, right, Chris?
Yeah, and I would also advise for those that are listing, do your homework up front early. Get that up front so that so that you don't run into that issue as well.
Great. Chris, Donna, thank you both very much for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, that brings us to the end of this edition of Michigan Mortgage Market, and really appreciate everybody taking the time. Our next episode is going to be September 24th, and we're going to touch on the impact of COVID and how that's affected the housing and mortgage market and what that means moving forward. So we'll have some guests and talk about what that means for everybody. So thank you all for joining us and listening in. Thank you for all our special guests today, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.